Alright guys, so take a look at this bike. This is a Triumph GT LRH, which stands for low ride height, so it's a little bit lower. It's the GT, not the GT Pro, which is pretty interesting. So I actually just got off the Tiger 900 Rally Pro, so this is a lower bike than that one. So this will be kind of interesting. Let me jump on here. Alright, so same operation as the other one. You actually have a key, pulling the clutch, and I think you actually can't start it in gear because I started it in, I think I started it in first, which is pretty interesting. So I'm actually going all by myself, unassisted, which is different. I'm usually like in a big group. They have these little red arrows all over the place that you follow, and I think I have the route down pretty good. So this one's kind of interesting. Look at my knees, how low this one is. It's actually pretty comfortable. My knees fit in here pretty good. I could definitely be taller on this one, although it definitely feels like a smaller bike just because of the lower ride, which is pretty wild. So kind of the interesting thing on these is the clutch is like pretty far out. You have to let the clutch pretty far out. So the interesting thing about this one, this is the GT, which if you actually compare the GT to the Rally Pro, the GT is more geared for highway, versus the other one is more geared for like an off-road, kind of like a dirt kind of a bike. So this one, it's kind of interesting because I think it's geared different. Because I'm in second gear and it feels like I'm going faster than the Rally Pro in second gear. But it seemed like the other one didn't have quite the same gearing. This seems like it's geared a little bit higher than the other one. So this one, it feels like the corners are more stable. Nice and fast. You can definitely feel the bumps a little bit more on this one. I didn't notice that bump on the other one, but still it sucks up a lot of the road. Super cushy on the road, which is pretty nice. So let's see, I'm in top gear. I guess it's got pretty much the same gearing. So take a look at this. It's always good to kind of take a look at. This is top gear, going 50 miles an hour. I'm about 3,000 RPM, so it's pretty much exactly the same gearing as the other one. But I did notice the tires on this one are definitely different than the Rally Pro. It has like more street tires. But kind of the interesting thing on that Rally Pro is it had really aggressive tires, but you couldn't feel any buzziness at all in the handlebars, which really surprised me. It was really amazing. Let's see, we're gonna get split up here if we're actually staying together. Not that I have to stay together because I already know this route. Yeah, so on this one, it's kind of interesting. I was actually talking about one of the things I didn't like about this bike to another guy that was there, and he's like, yeah, the one thing I don't like about the Rally Pro is that it gets really hot. The engine gets really hot. So we'll have to see on this one after it warms up a little bit if you still feel that engine heat. I can definitely feel it, I'd say more than any other adventure bike that I've actually been on. It's pretty noticeable engine heat coming up. I'd say this one's definitely more stable in the corners. The other one seemed really twitchy, that Rally Pro. This one seems like it's not as the other one seemed like it was too sensitive to input from the handlebars. So you barely pressed on the handlebars and you'd like just jump right into the corners. On this one, you actually have to push a little bit, which I definitely like more. This one seems way better on the road around the corners than that Rally Pro. Both of them seem like they have about the same power. I think they're both 900s, so pretty much the same there. Kind of an interesting color scheme on this one. It has the same mirrors. I like the mirrors. They're actually really good mirrors. One of the best as far as kind of giving you a good view of what's behind you. They kind of stick out a little bit. Depends if you kind of like the look of the mirrors that kind of stick out. So as far as the power, yeah, on this one, it's not like power where you can lift up the front wheel. You can like give it full throttle. As a matter of fact, let me see what mode we're in here. We're in road mode. Let's see. Now we're in sport mode. Sport. All right. Whoa. I was wondering on that last bike, I don't know if I was actually in sport mode. Because, yeah, this is like, sometimes these bikes get tricky. You get them in the wrong mode, and you're like, where's all the power on this one? I think the other one, as a matter of fact, I think the other one, yeah, you can definitely feel those roller tracks more than that last bike. Yeah, not too bad. All right, let's see. We are turning right here. I think we lost the other guys. I think they took the wrong turn. I wasn't really paying attention where those other guys were going. This is where you're supposed to go, though. Yeah, it's like a completely different bike in sport mode. I don't think I had the last bike in sport mode. Yeah. So maybe you could lift up the front tire on this one. That's pretty funny. No, I don't think you could. It's pretty close though. It's kind of interesting. I'd say you'd probably get maybe 20% more power in sport mode, maybe 30%. Some of them, I know those Indians, it's like you got almost like 60% more power on those Indians, which is crazy. It's like the Indians are like super sluggish, and then you put them in sport mode and they just like fly, which is crazy. Oh, I don't know. I think you can maybe lift up the front end on this one. These are all really fun bikes. This one, it seems like I'm a little bit further forward than the Rally Pro, although it is really comfortable. So I'm almost at a complete straight up and down. If I extend my arms straight out, I'm almost like lean back a little bit, which is like a really comfortable stance on this bike. It's pretty amazing. It's kind of weird on this one. It feels a little bit smaller just because it's like a lower. I think because maybe the seat's forward a little bit more than the other one too. It almost has a little bit of growl to it. It almost sounds like it has like a custom exhaust. Not only now that I'm in sport mode, it didn't really have that kind of growl when I had it in road mode, which is kind of interesting. But I think I almost like this one better than the Rally Pro just because of the tires and the stability in the corners. Really super stable in the corners compared to the Rally Pro. So, yes. So, yeah, so I'm in 6th gear. Let's see, 4,000 RPM is about 62 miles an hour. So, yeah, I probably wouldn't go like 80 miles an hour on the highway long term on this one. Although the handlebars are not buzzy at all. You just kind of wind out the engine. You get a lot of wind. It's kind of interesting if you get up behind this little windshield. There's like no wind at all. I'm actually surprised at these little windshields if you get up behind them, which is pretty amazing. I don't know if it would keep the rain off you. Maybe it would. Just kind of ducking down behind that. It's amazing, that tiny little windscreen. It's probably one of the best. So in this one, I definitely noticed the heat from the engine, just like the other one. But it's kind of weird because my legs are a little bit higher. Let's see here over this road track. Not bad at all. The other one definitely has a better suspension. Yeah, we're in 6th gear. Let's see. All right, we're going 72 at over 4,000 RPM. A lot of wind, a lot of wind. But yeah, not really buzzy at all in the handlebars. Feels pretty stable. Even going like 70 miles an hour, of course, the engine's getting pretty hot. The engine's cooking. I can definitely feel it on my legs. It's pretty amazing how hot the engine gets. And I've never really felt that heat on any other bike, that much heat coming off the engine. It's kind of unusual. So as far as driving 55 miles an hour, yeah, it's even 65, well, 60, even 65 I'd say, you feel pretty confident. Rear brakes are really good. He said these brakes weren't as good as the other one, but they're really good. I'd say better than, well, let's see, we are going straight, follow the red arrows. I'd say the brakes on this are probably better than, wow. Yeah, I definitely did not have that other bike in sport mode. That is a lot of power. It almost lifts up the front end, I'd say. That's pretty amazing. That is pretty amazing. So let's see. So if you went 65 long term, a little bit of vibration in the handlebars at 65. I'd say you can feel the road definitely more on this one than the other one. But not too bad. Pretty smooth, actually. Better than what you'd see on like maybe a lowrider S as far as kind of the road vibration on the highway. So as far as letting go of the handlebars to adjust the mirror, yeah, I don't really feel that confident doing that. You almost have to stop. I don't know what it is about this bike. A little bit more input as far as, you know, moving the handlebar a little bit, and then, you know, compared to like your Harley Davidson cruisers, and that clutch is a little bit tricky to get used to. Yeah, lots of power. I think if I accidentally popped the clutch, I would lift that front end for sure. I love the display. You can see how fast you're going, and the gear indicator, which is really nice. Yeah, it's 82 degrees out, and now that the sun's not out, it feels perfect. It's pretty nice. You get the engine temperature. You can see your brake fluid, your brake fluid jumping around in front of you, which is pretty funny. I just think it's funny they put the clear brake fluid right there so you can see if your brake fluid's good. Which on a lot of your bikes, they put it in a completely different, and completely sealed where you can't see the brake fluid at all. So we're getting some pretty strong, gusty, like crosswinds. You can definitely feel the crosswinds on this bike because it kind of pushes it around, because this bike feels like it's pretty light. Doesn't feel like it's really heavy. So my one big complaint, I can tell right now, is this bike is hot. Woo, my legs are sweating. Yeah, just like the other bike. It seems like every single bike has one weird thing about it. This bike, I'd say, is 99% perfect. The only thing that I don't like about this bike is that it just gets a little bit too hot and it makes my legs sweat. All the way up, almost makes my butt sweat, which is weird. I don't know if it's the way it's just pushing the air from the engine right up into my legs. It's kind of an interesting effect. Alright, so would I buy this bike? Yes, I would definitely buy this bike, especially since the only real negative on this bike is the heat from the engine. I'd say, in my book, that's the only really negative. This is like the perfect bike if it wasn't for the excess heat coming up on my legs. And for me, you know, being up in the mountains where the daytime high only gets up to like maybe I think, you know, it's usually like 75 degrees every day, and it gets colder from there. So, you know, up in the mountains, it's pretty cold up in the mountains. So this would be ideal. It's almost like a heated seat year round. But if you lived in the desert, yeah. I don't know if you'd want to ride this where it's 100 degrees in the desert. Yeah, you could definitely feel more road vibration, even at 45 compared to the other one, the Rally Pro. This is a pretty nice bike. Yeah, I found myself kind of spreading out my legs, getting away from the side of the bike just because it's so hot, which is really unusual. I've never really noticed that before in any other bike. Yeah, the thing I really like about the windscreen is it keeps it off your chest and it kind of pushes it up on your head, but it's not choppy at all. Like zero choppiness. It's really smooth wind, and you get a lot of wind, which is pretty refreshing actually, to get some pretty good wind. There's an interesting sound. I'd say it's like my Harley Davidson. I really like the sound. That's like one of the big things, the really mean sound. This doesn't have that really good sound, but it doesn't sound bad. There's a pretty decent sound to it. It's not like you rev it up and you're like, ooh yeah, that sounds good. But it doesn't sound like annoying where you get tired of the sound. It sounds like what I would consider, you know, kind of like a high-end bike. It sounds kind of like a high-end adventure bike, I'd say, as far as the sound. This one, yeah, it seems like the friction zone's not as far out as the other one. So this one is still pretty far out, where you have to like let the clutch out. And it's kind of interesting on some of these clutches with the friction zones kind of far out. I find myself kind of letting the clutch out and trying to figure out where the friction zone is before I take off, like at a stop, so I know right where the friction zone is. I kind of wish it was closer to the grip. I think I can lift that front end. That's fast, super fast. That's kind of crazy. And the seat is, I think the seat on this one's more comfortable than the other one. It feels like I could just drive this one all day long with this seat. Alright, so pretty awesome bike. Pretty close to the other one, I'd say. The other one's definitely an upgrade from this one as far as the suspension. I'd say this one's probably an upgrade as far as the stability around the corners. This was really nice around the corners. Super nice. So pros and cons for every bike. The one thing I probably didn't like on either one of them is the excessive heat coming off the engines. Quite a bit of heat coming off the engines on both of them. But yeah, I'd definitely buy either one of them. Pretty awesome bike. Alright guys, so there you have it. That is the Triumph 900 GT. Pretty awesome bike. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.